included in those cases that Casey was discussing. So Estia Health is a big aged care firm across Australia. It says at one site in Melbourne, that's the Ardea facility in West Melbourne, 13 residents have tested positive for COVID-19. So earlier today, Estia actually said no residents had tested positive. So this was a part of an early morning market update that included goodwill write-downs of up to $148 million. That's because of the cost of COVID-19. But now, in a later update, earlier this afternoon, Estia Health said the company had activated its COVID-19 test response plan. It's working with Victorian and Commonwealth Department of Health authorities. Now, we also know that 2 staff have tested positive. They haven't said at which aged care facilities, but they are in Melbourne. So they said the 2 staff worked across 3 Estia nursing homes, but did not work while they showed symptoms. In addition, last month, Estia reintroduced visitor restrictions at its nursing homes because of that outbreak in Victoria.
Now, the Fair Work Ombudsman is seeing more underpayment.
Yes, still a very big problem across Australia. So they've released their latest strategy for the current financial year. So they're saying underpayments in the corporate sector continue to be a big priority for their work. And in fact, they're saying that they've seen up to more than 60 new cases over the past 18 months. And just a reminder that the ABC there and Woolworths both involved in underpayment scandals. Woolworths owing workers up to $400 million. So the Fair Work Ombudsman says also a number of employees and employers are seeking assistance, and that's increased significantly for various workplace breaches. They're also investigating allegations of legal breaches in regards to the job seeker wage subsidy. Now, one caveat is that the workplace regulator says it's enforcing laws in what it's called a proportionate manner. That's to take into account the pressure that COVID-19 is putting on businesses such as restaurants, cafes and contractors. They're looking at the financial position of a business and the viability. So that's going to be taken into account before they decide to take legal action for serious law breaches. So that suggests that some offenders could actually get away with those legal breaches, possibly because the businesses may not be able to afford compensation payments.
Now, what's happening on the markets?
Yeah, it's been a really good day, come off its highs, but hopes about COVID-19 drugs and the start of second quarter earnings season in the US has boosted the markets. The ASX 200 up about 52 points, so that's about 0.8%. The All Ordinaries up about 0.7% or 46 points. So more than half the sectors are higher, led by utilities, banks and miners. Other sectors such as tech, telcos and healthcare going down. Let's have a look at the movers now. Now, Estia Health has taken a hit, down more than 4% on those revelations. About 13 residents infected with COVID-19 at one aged care facility in Melbourne. Sezzle, the buy now, pay later firm, still making gains up 15% after a $79 million share sale to big investors. Going down, Dacian Gold, a gold miner, they saw flat gold production and they lowered their production forecast for the year. Oil Search also lower. It had to write off some of its PNG exploration licenses to the tune of $400 million. And Star Entertainment, another firm that's revealed that a patron attending on July 4th has tested positive for coronavirus, but their shares have gone up. That is because the Queensland government abandoned plans for a second Gold Coast casino. Now, looking at Asia, good boosts and rises across Asia. The Nikkei up 447 points, 2%. Chinese markets up 1%. Now in the US, another big rise. Now that is because new data about the antiviral drug remdesivir, boosted the market. We saw the Nasdaq finish at another closing high. And let's have a look at commodities. Spot gold above $1,800 an ounce. Oil prices have dipped today. That's ahead of a OPEC meeting later this week. They're expected to announce an easing of production cuts. And the Australian dollar has also picked up. It's been grabbed by all the optimism, buying around 69.8 US cents, and it's higher against other major currencies.
Thanks, Sue. A new national research project aims to dramatically improve the treatment of people with depression. The trial will test how using a snapshot of a person's DNA can pinpoint the right medication for them instead of people struggling for months, sometimes years, trying to find the best treatment.
Cindy Black has been living with depression since her mid-teens, her horse Bella bringing comfort on her darkest days.
She's got me through a lot of these tough times.
Over the past decade, Ms Black has been in and out of hospital. She's made several suicide attempts, including one that left her in a coma for over a month.
Almost 4.5 years worth in the last sort of 8 to 10 years has been spent in hospital at different points.
She tried countless medications, but none of them worked, until 3 years ago when she took a multi-gene test that helped to narrow down which drugs would be effective for her genetic profile. That led to her being prescribed an antidepressant that changed her life.
It's just absolutely changed everything. It's brought my overall mood up, I would say by 80 or 90%, to a point where I was able to say I'm actually really happy.
She's not alone. Doctors say it often takes months to find the right medication.
Sadly, it's more the rule rather than the exception. Most patients, when they get treated with depressive disorders, don't get full remission on the first medication that they get put on.
A new trial will apply the same test Ms Black had to hundreds of mental health patients across WA, New South Wales and Victoria. Participants will have a brain scan and cheek swab, which will guide their treatment plan.
If we can get these treatments better targeted for people straight away, without false starts, without side effects, that they and their loved ones will benefit.
At the moment, the tests have to be paid for by patients privately.
We're hoping that if this evidence is from this clinical trial shows us that doing this test early in a person's health journey can be effective for them, then we would strongly consider making that more standard practice here in Western Australia and hopefully around Australia.
Cindy Black's battle with depression isn't over, but the future is looking brighter than ever, with a wedding to plan and a baby on the way. Rhiannon Shine, ABC News.
And if you need information or support, you can contact Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636. Or if you or someone you know is experiencing distress, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Let's get the sports news now with Louise Ransom. And Lou, there are COVID dramas in the NRL.
Yeah, there are, Gemma. Thank you very much. Let's start with the Bulldogs player Jake Averillo. He's going to go into isolation until this Sunday, July 19th. He's a Bulldogs centre. He's unable to train or play with the club. That's due to the fact his parents visited the Crossroads Hotel, this pub that has been in the news for this COVID-19 cluster. So they went on the 5th of July. Jake lives at home with them, which is why it's an issue for him. He'll be tested for COVID-19 today. Both his parents were tested over the weekend. They will now be retested as well. So we'll wait to see. Hopefully they all come back negative for the Bulldogs' sake and for Jake and his parents as well. The other issue is with this man here, Parramatta rookie prop Stefano Utoikamano. He's been removed from the club's bubble after breaking protocol here. We can see hugging family and friends. He made his debut. The Parramatta staff member tries to come over and sort of usher him away. Hard when you've made your debut in the NRL and you can't sort of go and celebrate. It's really hard to, I think, sort of realise and remember that you can't be doing that in the NRL bubble. So those two players out of their sort of team bubble at the moment. So we'll wait to see whether there's any issues with both of those athletes.
And in the AFL, we're waiting to hear about this next block of fixtures.
Yeah, so we're expecting maybe later on this afternoon or tonight we might hear. For more on this, we're joined by ABC commentator Tony Armstrong live from Melbourne. Tony, good afternoon to you. What do we know and what are we waiting to find out?
Well, we know what we've got this weekend. Round 7 is going ahead as planned. We've got our first Monday fixture between Adelaide and St Kilda, but then we aren't too sure what comes next. We know that the AFL is going to look to compress the season, so we could see, there's been words of 21 games in 21 days, kind of Big Bash style, just trying to get as many games out as possible. That'll look like four-day breaks for some teams and some pretty quick turnarounds. And then, of course, we've still got to catch up on the Bombers D's game, which was missed earlier on in the season. So there's a lot up in the air, but we're looking to hear a little bit more about that later on today, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see what the AFL has to say. You imagine they might try and move some of the teams around from Sydney, perhaps, if there's some issues there. Also, you mentioned about condensing the games, Tony. Bit of chat around at the moment about the state of footy at the moment from games on the weekend.
Yes, well, a bit of a war of words going on between a couple of highly respected coaches after the Sydney-Richmond game yesterday, where there were only 7 goals in the match. The Tigers won that one 34-26. Damien Hardwick came out after the match in his post-match press conference and basically put the blame on the Swans and the Swans coaching staff with the style of game that they played. And then, well, John Longmire isn't one to take it lying down. He, today in his press conference, had this to say about that.
I mean, the comments after the game from Damien were completely unnecessary and unwarranted. They just weren't correct. And we didn't play an extra defender. Richmond bring a player up around the ball. They've been doing it for a long time. We just held our 6 defenders in place. If Damien didn't want to do that, he could have brought his forward back in and just played 6, 6 and 6, and the issue would have been done. I'm not sure it's my role to walk up to Damien's coach's box, knock on the door and say, what would you like us to do? So that's how it happened.
So John Longmire did say that Damien Hardwick called him to apologise, but pointed out that he had to still front the media today and answer all the questions around it. We'll leave that story there. Another story, let's move on to a positive one. Carlton, they are going great guns at the moment.
Yes, back in the 8 for the first time since 2013. Nice win over the Bulldogs yesterday. Eddie Betts with 4 goals. We all love Eddie down here in Melbourne, and the prodigal son returns to Carlton, kicking 4, helping them get over the line. Young Tyro, Harry Mackay, kicking 3, but good news there for the Blues. I think it's the first time in 7 years that they've had their percentage over 100 as well, so a lot to be happy about there. In some other quick tidbits, for the Swans, well, it gets a little bit worse. Kennedy, their skipper, out for 6 to 8 with a knee injury. Isaac Heaney out for the season, so that's pretty tough with his ankle. Over at the Crows camp, Rory Sloane, he'll miss 4 to 6 with a hand injury, and it looks like Essendon's Dylan Shield will contest his 2-week suspension at the tribunal tomorrow night. That's it for AFL for the moment, Lou.
OK, we'll keep everyone updated this afternoon as we wait to hear from some fixtures. Tony Armstrong live there in Melbourne. Thank you very much. That is all in AFL, Gemma.
And you've got a great story in women's rugby for us.
Yeah, so one of our colleagues at ABC has written this story, and you'll see it on some of the news programs tonight at 7 p.m. as well. It's a former Wallaroos player, the women's rugby team, Kirby Sifo. She's amazing, and she has started a sort of a program to help young women talk about mental health, diversity, sexuality, relationships, and she's using rugby as her base to have these conversations going. If anyone who's had anything to do with the female rugby players, they're so passionate. They love the game, they love the sport, they play hard. And it's an amazing environment to sort of have these girls have a safe space and sort of be able to talk about all these issues. So watch out for it. It's on the ABC website, as I said, and on some of the 7 p.m. programs tonight as well.
Great story. Thanks, Lou. And let's get the weather now with Graham Creed. And what's the latest on this developing low off New South Wales?